all Caspar fans, this is Seppo, and what's new in E2C libraries version 0.7. It's been a while since the first release, 0.6.1, and now I have managed to get some time and prepare a new update. And this update contains a little changes into the library and some major new features. And in this video, I'm gonna run through all the new features and changes so that you know how you can get to know and start using those new features. And if you're having some codes or have done some projects with the old version, if you want to upgrade to this new version of the E2C libraries, what are the changes that you need to do? Because there's some commands and some template issues that you need to change. They are being inverted and so on, but I will go through those as well. So let's get started. So first of all, tonight I'm gonna use a graphics project here. It's just a test project I have done and been an graphics operator for several weightlifting championships for Eurosport and so on, and that was my inspiration to do something like this. And this is a good project just to show you the new features and things that you can do with the E2C library. So, the first of all, when you download the new version, obviously you need to change the including lines here to use E2C libraries version 0.7, and the same with the main library. The download package will contain the minified version of the E2C libraries, so the correct way to include it is like that. But at the moment, during this recording of this tutorial, I have a little bit problems with the minified version. It's not working properly, but I will fix that and it will work on the release version. No worries about that. The minified version is, or the reason why I want to publish the minified version is because it's smaller to load. It keeps the template size a little bit smaller, and it stops people changing the code too much, and it's just more convenient that way. Okay, so that's the including part, and then let's check what's new. In the E2C main file that's in the distribution chip, there's this what's new section that we are gonna run through today in this tutorial. So as I mentioned, let's go from bottom to top because that's the order I implemented the new features. The first one, as I told you, there's a new minified version, and as it says here, now it's easier to add your own lips also, and I will show you how to do that. This is still the unminified version, but everything at the bottom here is going to be exactly the same in minified version. And here you can see the Yep/Nope part. This is handling all the external libraries that are loaded, and if you want to add your own libraries, it's simply adding here the path and the library name, your own JS, and that's it. If you need to add more, just command. So the Yep/Nope is now handling all the library loading from external files, and so that's it. More easier, and the Yep/Nope is handling the loading in correct order much better than the old one. So that's it. Then I have done a lot of code cleanup and error management. There still might be some issues and error messages popping up once in a while. Just let me know if that happens. I will hunt those bugs down and what's causing them. But the actual code is much more cleaner now, and hopefully it will run better as well. Then I have redesigned the debug controls as well. They are now cleaner looking, and there's a new floating option, and that's probably the first thing I could show you. So like always in the E2C main, if we want to show, at the moment, as you can see, we don't have the debug buttons here, but we enable them the usual way. We set them true. At the moment, we leave the debug floating option to false. So now if I save this and we refresh it, we can see the new debug here. So we have a little bit colorful buttons, and the invoke command has its own part here, and we also have show data and hide data, where you can paste or write your own template data that you want to pass in with the update command. It's easy if you want to add new comp data. Just put your cursor where you want it and press add comp data, and you get new component data part there. You can clear the data, and you can set the default data back in. So that's the show and hide data part. So you have this pretty nice data editor here, if you could say that. You can easily add component data. So this is the basic. It's always set underneath the actual template. But if we change the floating option to true, let's save and update. Now you can see the whole debug bar is floating above the graphics. You can move it, drag and drop, and well, you get the idea. It's a floating debug bar. So basically, if you're running your browser in full screen mode or something like that, and it's the same resolution, and you get clipped underneath the template, you can use the floating bar, so you still can access it if it's off screen otherwise. All right, so that's it. It's cleaner look, I know. Then what's next? Let's go back to the what's new. So debug redesigned. Then I changed. This is probably one of the first major changes. The data Caspar variable is now renamed to template data. The template data object contains now all accessible data that you can use in your JavaScript. That's either passed in through here in template data, or that you get from the external data. It's all now passed into a template data. So we get into that in a little bit later, how we get that there. But remember, don't use data Caspar anymore. It's now template data. Okay, here's another mention about the external library loading. It's refined now, and it's using yep nope that we went there. Then I added underscore.js library. It's now version 1.8.3. So I know that there's a lot of people that want to use underscore functions, and it's now possible. It's included and working perfectly. Then I added a new function called Edge element. Basically, Edge element function, when you pass the ID of the element, it returns a jQuery object of that element, and the ID that you pass for this function is using the same naming conventions that I showed you in the first tutorial. So it's the symbol, underscore, element name, and so on. So basically, I showed you that you can access using main states .get symbol, symbol name, and element, blah blah blah. Now you can just use edge element something, and you get the jQuery object, and you can start manipulating it with a jQuery functions right away. So that's a big help. Actually, I have it here. We are using it to get a top info symbol and element called bottom text in that, and then we're passing the HTML jQuery HTML function, and we are pulling their test text. So it's that easy. And here's also an example that when we run the update, if template data f1 equals single, then we update the edge element top info in symbol top info, the element bottom text to contain its HTML should be a test text. So here we have a working example using the template data, the new template data, and the edge element functions. All right, then let's move on. Data active mapping is now inverted and renamed to data element mapping. So it's this part here. This was in the previous version, this was called data active mapping. Now it's called data element mapping because that's what we are doing here, and it's now inverted. Okay, and let's see what that means. So if I show you the old version, it's here. We called it, as I told you, a data active mapping, and it was in format first the data and then the element where we want that data to go. So example, data name 1 goes to element line 1 text, and so on. So that was causing a little bit of problem because we couldn't use the same data in multiple places. So that's why I changed it, inverted, and let's go here. Yes. So I invert it to be in format where we got element first and then the data. So now we can pass actually the same data into multiple places, like top info, top text 2 could also be mapped to show data f0, like that. So now we are taking care of that problem, so you can use the same data in multiple places in your template. The old version that was other way around didn't allow you to do this. You only could use the data in one place at a time. So change, or actually you don't need to change it anymore unless you're updating, but when you're creating a new project with this template, it's already calling it element mapping, but it's now data element mapping, not data active mapping. And change the order. Remember to use first the element name and then the data name. All right. Then what's next? Then I have added a new update external function. And let's see it here. Here it is. Update external. This function is automatically executed when the external data is updated. So if you have turned the external data on and true, and you have passed the use external data true, you set the data type and so on, you have the URL and you're getting data there, then when that AJAX call is made and the data is received, this function will be automatically called. So here you can do whatever you want with that data, and this just helps a lot to process the data and put it on the screen as soon as it's received. I will show what this code here does in later on. But that's the new function and it's included here, and you're free to use it the way you want. But it's the correct place to actually process the external data that you receive. Then Yes, the next part is active mapping for XML structures has been added. I received an email, if I remember correctly, and there was also a forum post about parsing an XML data and getting data out of possibly complicated XML structures. And I have now implemented to the X2JS library that allows us to actually get data out from the XML structure really easily. And also it's the same thing or goes in the same category is the new find data with attributes function that's also added. Um, but I'll actually show those. I'll mark here that I haven't covered these. I cover them in a second because I want to go through this easiest one because those are the probably the biggest things that are included in this update. So let's get that in a minute. Let's move on quickly. The autoscale class has been added and it's handling the font autoscaling down if we are showing a long texts. Also, uppercase, lowercase, and capitalized classes for the text fields have been added. So what does that actually mean? I'll show you. Nope, I don't want to load those. Um, Here's that project in Edge Animate, and example here I have this symbol called bottom info. If I go in there, you can see I have this name field or text field called name here, and because I want in this special template that all the names are uppercase and I want that they fit this area, I don't want any names to be cut out or anything like that. So when you select the text element, you can, by clicking here this little C button, you can add your own classes, and here I have added the autoscale and uppercase. You just put a space between the class names just like in normal HTML, and this makes sure that all the text that is in the element mapping example put there from the external data, it's automatically shown in uppercase and it's auto scaled down because this text field has now a font size 32. If the name is too long, that doesn't fit this rectangle here, the auto scale class here will automatically scale it down pixel by pixel down until it fits that box. So that way you can make sure that all the names are shown correctly in its place. And the same goes with lowercase or capitalized. Capitalized puts the first letters in the words, uppercase and other words else doesn't matter. So those are pretty handy when you're doing templates because the auto scaling and the names, you want to be consistent how the names are shown. Then there's the update text function added. It's easier to remember, but it's the same as update data. So basically, let me see, do I use it somewhere? Here's the old one, update data, where I pass the element name and what's there. But because we are mainly updating the text, I created update text function for that. So you can still use update data, it works the same, but update text is way to go because I have also added update image function, and now you can change the images on runtime easily as well. I'll show you the update image, but before that I want to say that the update data or update text doesn't need anymore the isEdge parameter. if I have it here somewhere, the old version, if you remember here, example the update clock, it said update data, and then you needed to tell true or false if it's an edge element or is it your own element that you have added, and then the element name and the content. Now this parameter is not needed anymore. You can just say the element name. The code actually checks first if you give it an element name or symbol name underscore element name, it will check first all the edge elements. If it doesn't find it there, then it checks all the others. So it doesn't matter, you don't need to anymore be specific that is it in the edge part of the composition or your own div or anything like that that you have added example in here. So before we go into the masking of the images, let's see how you can update the images. I try to find an example here. I think I made one. If not, I could easily do one. Let's see. Here I have in the normal update. As you can see, I have here, if I go to the Animate, here I have in the bottom info symbol, I have actually flag overlay and flag image. They are normal edge images that I have added here, and the flag overlay is just a little reflection part on top of normal flag image like that. Okay, so we want to, because that overlay is transparent PNG, we don't want to change that, but we want to change on runtime the image of the flag. So it's the element is called flag image. It's bottom info flag image. So in here on this update function, we simply call update image bottom info flag image, and here I'm actually loading it from DeviantArt Sweden flag by fall of the JPG, and here's the mask part. So if we take this out of here, I just cut it. So this is the main part, update image, what element and what file. This can be either from the internet or a local file. And now if I save this and we refresh this and we click update, okay, the external data is making this happen. Let's see, so we can flag image. Oh no, we don't want to use that. We take that out. Okay, let's try it now. Now we get the Sweden flag from the internet. Okay, so whereas in the update function there, so bottom info flag image, the URL of the image, and boom, it's updated. Simple as that. But as you can see in this project, we have a problem already, because the example file here, the flag, is actually made into this specific shape that it fits right into the graphics. And now if we want to have all the world's flags here, every country's flag, we would need to actually make those flags into this shape, and that's a lot of Photoshop work. But there's an easier way. As I mentioned, there's also this masking for images. So the update image takes the element, the image file, and you can also, if you want, you can give him a mask image URL. And the mask is basically just a transparent PNG where the image transparency is used to cut out the main image's shape. So because I know that we have the template image flag that is in this template. Let's see if I can find it. The flag here. Does it show me? Yes, it's the Turkish. It's cut out and it's a PNG. So we can use that as a mask. So we put it here. Let's take that out. Save, refresh, and now we update, and boom, the Sweden flag is get from the internet, and the local file that's been used to create this template, first of all, is used as a mask for the external image, and it cuts out and fits perfectly. So that's a pretty handy feature if you ask me. So update image, element, image name, and optional mask image if you want. And also, now when we are talking about the images, the template data and the external data can now also pass images, masks, or both. But the format is here. So if, let's see, do I have, no I don't. Basically it means that if we want to pass here, it was the bottom, let me just double check, bottom info flag image, yes. So now we are updating bottom info flag image, and here you need to pass in the image equals, let's see, yeah, image equals, and then the image file example, where could I find that? Well, whatever you want. I'm not gonna images and here I can, no way dot png. That would do it. It would update the image. And if you want to use the mask as well, just the, is the semicolon, yeah, and then mask equals, and then the image and flag.png example. So that's the format that you need to use when you're passing images from the external data or from the Caspar client example. But you can leave the mask out if the image is already in a correct shape. But if you want to mask it on runtime, you can semicolon and the mask file name there, and it should work fine. Then I have added the velocity JS and velocity UI as well. It's the version 1.2.2, and it's actually, I've used it here in this example, what you can see here. And this example also uses the find data with attribute and this part here. And I just pause for a second and have a quick smoke in my balcony, and I will continue shortly with that because it's the biggest thing here. Okay, I'm back, and it's time to continue with the last part of this tutorial, and now we're gonna go through about let's see what I was talking about. The find data with attribute and active mapping for XML structures. Those are the two things, the main things that we haven't covered yet. So Now I just apologize first if I have little problems remember how everything works, but I try. So as I mentioned, I added the X2JS library as well, and basically it's available from codegoogle.com/p/x2js. Here you can find out quickly how that library works. It takes XML data and basically put it into JSON JavaScript objects, and now when we are loading, let's see, I show you here, we are using external data and we are defining that it's an XML, but it's not an Caspar XML, it's something else. When the external data is fetched, it's passed through the X2JS and it's put in a JSON object into the template data variable, so it's accessible from there. And basically, if we go through the element mapping here first, you can see a couple of examples here. We are putting into the bottom info bar and text, so it should be, let's see, bottom info bar, and there's text. So that field that says attempt snatch for rank 1, it's putting there from data source, first entry, third field, and it's text. Then there's for the bottom info name, it's putting data source entry. Here's a different kind. It's saying source is data source entry. It's finding the attribute name, searching for full name, and all full names, it's taking the first one. Okay, let's see that in practice first. So I just save this and reload and I update. So it's saying now, let's see. This is just an random XML that I could easily find that's a little bit complicated, not a normal and so easy. So it's tweets or something, I don't know. So it's putting there Sax Lilienthal and the name here. So if we check the data, I have here parsed the data in a little bit readable format. The last line is just multiples of these, so the entries and entries and entries. So as you can see, here's a data source. That's the main XML object here. It's data source, so it's the first that gets into the template data. It's data source. Then it's getting the first entry, or we are accessing the first entry. It's starting here. Then we are getting a field, third field, 0, 1, 2, 3, and it's getting its text with 2 underscores. Here's the same thing for the info name, Sebastian Lilienthal. Now we're passing this. The source is data source.entry, so we're getting all the entries. We are finding all the names, and now the attribute is underscore name, and so basically it's finding all the fields that has name, and that name equals the search string here is full name. So it searches fields that attribute name is full name, and it's somewhere, let's see, it's somewhere here. Here is full name, and it's getting the first one and returning its text, the content of that field. So if you want, I'm not going to go through everything that X2JS, how it actually parses the things, but it's using the default mapping. So here you can see, let's see. Basically, in the examples, the attributes always gets the one underscore, and then the content is usually the text with 2. This one here, if I go here, update external, here I'm using a different method. I'm using find data with attribute. Now when the X2JS is going through the XML and converting it to JSON object, we can use find data with attribute function. And here, when the external data is retrieved, we are creating an array called Animate. This is a Finnish, I should get all these names. And it's getting all from the data source dot entry. It's finding all fields. At this point, they are actually called fields. This could be something, example like data, and its attribute is name. It's finding all the elements that has attribute called name. Now it's finding the full name, all the attributes that equals name, full name, and it's returning all and its content. And I can show you if that's a little cryptic. Here is the find data. So basically, this is how that function gets. It's the first parameter is what's the JSON objects, the search attribute underscore name, the search value that needs to be match, then which one it returns. It could be, if it's a star, it returns all. If it's a 1, 2, or 3, that's the index number, and then the attribute that it returns, and when it's 2 underscores and text, it returns text. So the easiest way to understand this is to actually use console log, and we can actually do that if I open this up in my browser. Let's see, here, if I preview in browser like so, and I update it. Okay, now we have fetched the external data, and now we can go in where it is, developer console here, and we go into console. Okay, there's something, favorite icon. Here, template data. Here you can see it contains the template data, and here's the external, the data source, which comes from here, from the external data. It contains ID underscore, basically everything, the attributes that are here, they are with one underscore because those are the attributes. Then there's an array um, called entries that has fields, ctime, ID, blah blah blah, and fields that has attribute name and double underscore text, the content. So here you can actually, when you load the external data, this is the probably easiest way to see how the X2JS parses that data, and then you can use find data with attribute functions to actually get on hold of those. Or the same goes with the element mapping here. You can use this format just by passing, if you know the arrays, or you can use the longer version as well, like that. It might seem a little complicated, and I know I coded it, but I'm still trying to figure it out and learn myself as well, because but the easiest way is always to, when you retrieve the data, then use the JavaScript console just to make sure that it gets in the right format. You have everything. Data source dot entry. Entry is an array, so you can pass in the object names, and that way you can, or that object index number. Then at this case it contains fields, 23 fields that has underscore name, something, double underscore text is the actual content. And here you can see I have actually modified this file to contain the image string. So if I would get the design here, it would update the images, whatever image field I would pass that. Actually here it is. It's gonna pass that finish flag. If I take that out, I save and rerun and update, we get the finish flag because it's coming from the external data in this format, as I told you. So it might seem complicated, but just take a little time to get used to and know your own data, the XML data, how it's formatted. Let the template load it, and then use the console and just write there template data, and you get it on a JSON format, and you can take a good look what's in there, what are arrays, what are attributes, and that way you can find the data you want. Okay, but that way, no matter how complicated your XML is, this is the way it's been transformed into JSON, and JSON is always easiest to handle and do searches with find data with attribute from JavaScript than the pure XML. This problem actually, it doesn't even matter if you load a JSON P file example, you can still use the find data with attribute. You just don't use the underscores because they probably don't have that. The underscores come from the X2JS library. That's adding these things there. Okay, so how I created this one here, I show you that. It's here. When I actually update external function. So I get the names, all the names here, the full names. I get all the pictures from the profile image, and if you look at the data, the profile image is there, profile image, and it contains an URL into some images. Then I have here my template has this element. Let's go to the stage. It's actually this one here. It's called list background, and I simply emptying it, and then I'm just, because these are arrays, I'm just using the normal for loop to go through all the names, and here I'm creating a symbol. I'm creating a new child symbol for into the list background, and the symbol that I want to create is a name line, and the name line is actually, I have it, let's see, I should have it here in symbols. I have a name line. I have already created, let's see if I can open that up. It's here. I have created a symbol that has number and the name. It doesn't have any classes, but we could add there something if we want, uppercase or auto scale. And basically it's adding, the code here is adding, creating a symbol, putting it into this temporary variable. It's passing its into its name HTML, the name, the number. Also, this is the rude way to do it because we are creating a symbol on runtime. This is the safest way to do it, but you can do it many ways. So the name, number, image, it's putting the CSS background image there, and the URL. It's setting its CSS opacity to 0, so it's invisible. And there we're using the velocity. As I said, that I added the velocity library as well. It's a good animation library. It's lightweight, fast, and very easy to use. So it's getting the symbol element, adding the velocity animation there, translating its X with -100, animating the opacity from 0 to 1 with easing, and it's giving a little bit of delay because it's a for loop so that they come one by one, and it's running that, so when we hit the update they are animating in just like that. So there's at the same time an example how to use and create dynamic list from external data. Okay, this is a little bit hard coded or going into the core of jQuery. You can always use the update text and things like that, but I like to myself like to do it like this. It's up to you how you want to do it. Use the helper functions or not, but you get the idea. The main thing here is to find data with attribute. So you load external data, it gets passed into the X2JS library that converts into it into a JSON object, and then from the template data you can use to find data with attributes to find that data, and then you are free to use it however you want. What else? As you can see, here's a little lines here: update auto scale, don't remove. These lines should be here, especially in update external at the end of it, and in update I think, actually no, it doesn't need, but the update external needs it at the moment. It takes care of the auto scaling, and the WebSocket is still the same. Then yeah, I could show you the last thing. I think we have covered probably everything that this new update includes. The last thing that I want to show you is the new way. In last tutorial I showed you how to import animations into sprite sheets. That's fine and okay still, but there's better way if your animations are longer or complicated or whatever. Um, the new way is actually, I stop for a second and prepare everything so I can show it you properly. Okay, so if you don't want to use sprite sheets to import animations, or your animations are long and complicated, then it's probably better not to use them, because the file size and the image size can get pretty big quite easily. There's a new way, and it's transparent Webm videos. So if I show you the project here, uh, first of all, I can show it you here. I have here two buttons. The first one hides the top info, and when I click it again, it brings it back in and plays that pretty nice animation in there. Ooh. So it's using the transparent Webm video, and how I did this, it's pretty easy. First of all, I prepared the animation in After Effects, just simple flare, moving flare, and I render it with a transparent background into example QuickTime file that supports an alpha channel. When I had that in file, I used, you need to install the FFmpeg, and when you have that installed, you can use a simple command ffmpeg, the parameter I, and then example flare.mov, and we output into flare.webm like that. And when you run that command, the ffmpeg will encode the video into Webm video that has the alpha channel in it. Then in Adobe Edge, you simply import the file. So I import it. Let's see here. The flare. It's saying that the Webm video is not supported on the Animate stage and will not render correctly there. To render the video stage, import identical MP4, blah blah blah, pass through on browsers anyhow. We click OK. We don't care about that. Now we get that video in our stage, and if we want to help the positioning, we can change the poster image here. We can change it into example still photo from the video. I should have flare poster here, and then we can use that. It's now empty frame, but you get the idea. And you can help to, if we change this something else, now that's representing the video, and you can put it whatever you want. Then you can put the video into autoplay, loop, anything like that. Normally all these off. Preload video, that's good to have. And after that, that's all you need to do. Then you can control the video playback. I have here the main one. It's using the poster, as you can see here. It's in correct position, and if I open up the code, here you can see when I click the test button here, it plays. It gets the flare. It set its playback rate to 2, and it plays. So it's handling it just normal video element in Edge. You can check the Edge Animate's manual and tutorials how to use video and how to use them from the code. But the main thing here is that Webm supports alpha channel, and that way you can easily import those nice graphical things, animated things into your templates that you don't want to animate in code. So that's probably the last thing. Now we have covered everything that the new update 0.7 has to offer you. I still don't have a written manual for this, and I think I will not have that before the release 1.0. That's because I like that people watch tutorials and learn by doing. That's the way I learn everything. So if you have anything to ask, just send me an email or YouTube comment or whatever. Contact me. I will be in the Caspar forums. I still have a little problems sending their messages. The admins aren't. I don't know if it's the admins or what, but if I post something, it might take even a month before it appears and it gets approved into the forum. I don't know what's causing that, but the email is. I put my email address, or you can send. Actually, I don't put my email address. You can find it if you want, and from our company's website example, or you know. But anyhow, I will continue developing, adding new features. I hope these get you started and make your templates even prettier and more complicated than they used to be. The active mapping for the XML structures can be confusing at the first time, but take time, read how the x2js library functions. That's the main thing, and use the console log to actually get the data and get used to it. That helps a lot. And trial and error, that's the best way to do it. But of course, ask if you don't understand some of the things I've just gone through here. All right, that's everything. See you next time. I hope to include a new update pretty soon. If you have any feature requests, just leave a comment and I will try to include those into the next update. Okay, see ya. Bye.